read that again. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the Audit and Governance Committee on Tuesday, the 22nd of April, 2025. Item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence have been received from Mark Poppy, the new non-elected rep.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting, pages 4 to 8. So we'll do a quick page turner. Pages 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if there are no comments, I'm happy to move from the chair that I sign these minutes. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Thank you, Jude. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
No, I'm abstaining.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't present.
I beg your pardon, and 1 abstention. Yeah. And I have the meeting minutes for the 1st of April, where we're not quorate. I'm happy to propose from the chair, and if Judy are present, so all those in favour, and any abstentions? Thank you. So I'll sign those off. All right, there you are, Lauren. Thank you. Item 3, the action list on page 9. If we go through the action list. Minute 179, Councillor Hames. Do we have any comment from the finance manager? Anything from you, Peter, on that?
Yeah, so this is just to say to update so this is about updating the social value portion of the contract procedure rules. So a bit of history, the social value policy was developed by a task and finish group from an internal ONS back in 2023.
It's on.
It's on, it should be on. Okay. Yeah, so the social value policy was developed by a task and finish group back in 2023. This policy is approved by CNR, and this was approved in 2024. These changes feed into the contract procedure rules, which was then agreed by Audit and Governance and approved by full council. So any amendments to the social value policy would go through the same process. So it's just to state that. So.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Peter.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Thanks for that report.
Yes, please, John.
Sorry, I can help with that. This one has actually went to the last internal scrutiny committee, so they've already looked at it. They decided that it wasn't a need to change anything at the moment. And the percentage is only the percentage for the score, so it only scores it. It's not what you require from the procurement itself. So I know some councillors were getting a little bit confused with that. But the committee, internal scrutiny committee, looked at the social value policy at their last meeting, and there was they agreed that there was no need to alter it at this time.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. I think that resolves that.
Sorry, Chair. So that going to scrutiny wasn't a result of this committee, though, was it? Through you, Chair.
Sorry, no, it was a standard every so often, because they adopted developed the policy 18 months ago. It was on their forward plan to review anyway, because that was something that they wanted to do. and they kind of acknowledge that it's still early days, it's still being kind of used, and yeah, they decided that it wasn't needed to be changed at this time.
So there'll be no mileage in trying to go to CNR then. So when would, sorry, may I ask through you, Chair, when it will be reviewed again, or do we know?
18 months' time, but there's no mileage in going further forward with it.
And may I ask what the percentage is, be reminded what the percentage is at the moment? Is it 10%? You, Chair?
For the scoring,
Yeah.
yeah, so the procurement, so if the it's a £50,000 minimum, but we try to do it under that if we can. But then the score is around 10% of the scoring for that actual procurement exercise is 10% on social value.
Okay, well, yeah, have to think again, I suppose.
Okay. Right. Item 4, declaration of interests. Members with interest should refer to the agenda item and describe the nature of their interest when the item is considered. Item 5, agreements of agenda items part 1 and 2. We do have some part 2 items this afternoon, so I'm going to move from the chair that at the appropriate time we will go into part 2. I'm looking for a seconder.
Seconder.
Thank you very much, David. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 7, the internal audit plan, pages 10 to 22. To receive a report from Brad Hutton, the Senior Assurance Manager at Devon Assurance Partnership. Brad, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are starting, as you've mentioned there, Chair, on page 10, and I'm bringing today to the committee the high-level audit plan for the year we're currently in now, which is 25-26. As we make our way through the report, I should mention, Chair, this plan is for members to vote to approve today. I will run through the plan briefly, and then happy to answer any questions. So if we look to the top right of page 13 of your packs, you will see where, in sort of the grand scheme of things, if you like, where we plan to spend our time across the board there, in that pie chart in the top right-hand corner. And then as you move through the report to page 14, you see that in a little bit more detail and the names of the audits themselves. And I'm pleased to say that this plan has been run through Peter and his team, senior leadership, to ensure that officers and managers are happy with that. And you'll see that we follow core systems, which is that sort of core basis, those annual audits that we complete year on year, risk-based audits, so that focuses around risk management and fraud, and then also those audits associated with achieving strategic goals that the Council has approved. This plan is what we call a rolling plan. So the audits that you see here, by way and large, have been done in the past and normally happen on a biannually or every few years cycle. That is how they've ended up on here. I will draw your attention to just a couple of anomalies there. Just to the right, obviously audit management, which is obviously my tenants here today, the planning, those sorts of things. But we have put some time to devolution / local government reorganisation support. We are finding with some of our other clients that is becoming useful by either spending time on a specific piece of work or tagging that time onto other pieces of work to add an LGR edge to it. I will pause there, Chair. The rest of the report is kind of just verbatim around the plan itself. Page 22 just kind of clarifies where those audits will sit alongside the last time those audits were completed along with their scoring. But I will pause there, Chair, just in case there's any questions around that specific plan.
Do we have any questions from the committee? Yep, I just see on the attached document we have got an increase in audit days from 159 to 174.
That's right. So that's still, thank you, Chair, and that still sits within our performance indicators. That still sits within our service level agreements. That's an indication at this time. Of course, some days are less, some days are more. There's a bit of contingency in there. So that's kind of what we're saying at the moment. We feel as if it will be between 160, 174, something like that.
Okay, that's good.
I can
If-
continue.
Please
Yes.
continue, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I will move on to the next agenda item, which...
We need a, sorry,
apologies, yes.
we do need a vote. So I'm happy to propose that we approve the audit plan, the internal audit plan. I'm looking for a seconder. David, thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Right, item 8, the internal audit update report, pages
Yes.
23 to 36. Again to you, Brad.
Thank you, Chair. So, yep, that's looking at, I guess, last year now as we sort of finalise our work, which is not uncommon. We always sort of tend to sort of bleed into April to finalise a few reports. I just draw attention that this report was written for the previous audit committee on the 1st of April, so this is up to the 21st of March. We have made some significant moves since then. I think just a couple of points to highlight. There are a few pieces of work ongoing. I think that's down to officer availability, our availability, Easter, those sorts of things. But we remain on track to sort of finalise this early May, I would say. Shouldn't impact 25-26 plan too much that we've just run through there. Page 27, I just highlight to members there, those in yellow are ongoing. The rest of those that are marked in, or unmarked, I should say, should now be yellow from the 21st of March as they remain in progress. But I will just say, currently no limited assurance, all sort of reasonable and substantial work. So that's testament to the governance work that the officers are putting in place. As we make our way through the report, so Appendix 1, I always just include a few lines around the audit itself, what we've checked, the risk areas. I haven't included that for cyber security for obvious reasons. If members do require that, please do let me know and I can always send that on. Okay, Chair, I'll pause there.
Thank you. Right. We note this item.
Just for noting this one.
We just note. Peter, you want to come in?
For the one on the high-level summary audit, on page, I don't know what page it is, high-level summary audit plan outcomes. What if they're not highlighted? Sorry, what does that mean?
So those, so bear in mind that this report was written on the 21st of March. Those that are not currently marked should, if the report was written today, they would be marked in yellow. So, yeah, it's just progress through the plan, essentially. But, yeah, good question.
A couple of points on the page 31 to do with the harbour. I think the harbour does come under other statutory regulations, doesn't it? So, which takes precedence, really, audit or the maritime law. I presume maritime is the senior sort of legal person.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that would be right. I guess our job is to give you some reassurance and confidence that the processes that you've got in place as an organisation will prepare you best for those legal challenges if they did come apart. And as you can see, a reasonable assurance came back from that, and some good work was noted.
Because they do have to do an annual, and they do an annual safety
Correct.
thing in the harbour. So
yes, this looks more operational, I would guess. So those operational procedures and processes.
I suppose the other point is below that was to do with the cemeteries. The tripping hazards, I kind of found that quite hard. What sort of...
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of funerals. I've never seen anybody actually fall into a grave, but I suppose it's possible.
Sunken graves, etc. There are... the auditor on this did know, we did run through this, there were some photos attached within the report. Yeah, it's one of those, I guess, it's just to prepare yourselves operationally wise, sunken graves, those sorts of things, that they can prove a little bit of a hazard, and we just felt it was worth noting on that occasion, particularly, for those which have high visitor rates and those sorts of things.
Right, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Any further comments from anyone? No? If not, I'm happy that we note this item and move on to item number 9, which is the audit charter update, pages 37 to 56. And we're receiving an update from Brad.
Thank you, Chair. And I
floor is
promise
yours.
this is the last agenda item from me. This is just an annual update to our internal audit charter and strategy, just to adhere to the relevant audit guidance and codes. As a partner, a valued client of ours, we update you on this. No notable changes. Those eagle-eyed ones, you will see that we obviously our recent name change from Devon Audit Partnership to Devon Assurance Partnership. But apart from that, Chair, it's a document that essentially just says how we do things, really, in the codes that we apply to. So again, it's just for members noting today.
Right, it's very straightforward.
Very straightforward.
Just that one change, name change. So I'm happy that we note. Okay, so we note that. So we move on to item number 10, which is the external audit plan, pages 57 to 72, to receive a report from Bishop Fleming, external auditors. So, Craig, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is our audit plan for the year ended, for the financial year ended 31st of March 2025, as your second year of auditors. It sets out our role and responsibility in relation to the audit of the financial statements, but also our wider role in relation to the value for money arrangements which are in place in the organisation. I'll take the report or the document as read. It sets out our level of materiality that we'll be working towards to make sure the accounts show a true and fair view. It also lists down the significant risks, and these are the areas where we'll spend more time of our work, and we design procedures to address the risk of material misstatement in those areas highlighted. On page 64, I would highlight something new that's going to be in this year, and it's the implementation of a new accounting standard called IFRS 16 in relation to leases. And the summary of this standard really is that leases that used to be off the balance sheet, so rentals or operating leases, accounting-wise, they were now likely to be on the balance sheet. So there'll be an asset and a corresponding liability coming onto the balance sheet if it meets the criteria of not being short-term or low value. So that's one key thing that management will be working through and updating the accounts, and we'll be auditing this year as a scope change. The plan also outlines the timetable that we'll be working to, that we've agreed and discussed with management. Hopefully, so we'll be back here in September of this year to get the accounts signed and finalised. Happy to answer any questions.
I'd be delighted if you can guarantee that there'll be no hidden extras on the fee. That is something that has come up before.
So
with
the
previous auditors.
fee will change in relation to the leases because it is a scope change, so there's more work in relation to that. The other small change will be in relation to a change in the auditing standards in relation to group audits. It won't be as significant because we do the work ourselves. We don't place reliance on another auditor, so we top up the work that we need as part of that. So the impact will be reduced, but there will be a different impact because there are different requirements now through auditing standards that we must adhere to audit a group set of accounts.
Right.
So they're the two scope changes.
And we're thinking they're fairly minor.
For the group one, yeah. The leases one will need to liaise with management to see the impact and the amount of leases which are coming on balance sheet that we'll need to obviously evaluate there. So
Do I press you for a figure at this stage, or is
I
it?
wouldn't be able to give you a figure at this stage, unfortunately.
I had to ask. Okay, thank you. Any questions from you, Pete? No, it's fine. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Craig. Thank you. Any comments from the committee? No? Okay.
Do we have any idea of how many leases we're talking about?
Yeah, so we lease out a lot of things, but this primarily deals with what you lease in. So we don't actually have that many. So we have a few private sector leases where we lease houses to put in use as temporary accommodation. That's probably our biggest number. Other than that, we've got a couple of car parks, maybe like a foreshore, but that's sort of it really. So it's not big in number. Not from that perspective, no.
Okay, thank you. Right, so we duly note that item. And we move on to item 11, the annual governance statement, pages 73 to 91, to receive a report from the finance manager, section 151 officer. Peter, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the draft annual governance statement. So the full report's there in your pack. So this is part of what Craig and Bishop's Fleming will review as part of the audit. So this goes in as sort of a major piece within the financial statements. So the report is here, it's updated every year. So it covers various options. Hopefully you've all read through it and you can, I'm happy to answer any questions. So our service improvement officer updates it, but it's also updated by various members of the senior management team. And that's it, I'll let it speak for itself really. And so happy to answer any questions.
When I went through it, I didn't pick up any significant changes from previous years. Would I be right in that appraisal?
Yes, it doesn't change too much year to year,
No.
really. So it's more of a, just be update any, sort of current issues or affairs might be in there. Like I think it probably mentioned the peer review in there. That's probably something significant that happened in the year. But other than that, there shouldn't be too many major changes.
Okay. So again, we note this report.
I think we approve it.
We approve it.
As a draft. It's still a draft. It will still come as part of the financial statements in
Right.
September once they're audited.
Okay, so not do it then, approve the draft now. I'm happy to do it either way. Okay.
I think it's just, I think you just sort of consider it all right. It's just a draft, so obviously it can still change to the final.
Okay, so we will approve the draft. Okay, I'm happy to move that from the chair that we approve this draft statement. So I'm looking for a seconder.
Second it.
Okay, thank you, David. All those in favour? Unanimous? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 12, non-compliance with procedural rules and waivers, pages 92 to 98. And receiving a report from the finance manager again, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just try again. So this is an annual report we bring to Audit and Governance. So this is where we have our financial procedure rules and our contract rules. We have some set circumstances where we can waiver those rules for required reasons. But if we do so, we need to bring those waivers to Audit and Governance just so you can review them, really. So the report sets out there's a few circumstances where they can be waived, sort of life and death, increased costs, limited markets, or sort of embarrassment to the council. As you can see in the report, there's only actually been 7 waivers in the year, and this is reduced. So there's a little chart in there shows that this has been declining over previous years, so that so you can take a bit of comfort that the council is on top of these sort of things. It's the sort of cycle, and a lot of this comes about through the procurement cycle. So it's just managers being up to date and forward-looking, so to speak. So that's it, really. I'm not going to go into the waivers in detail. So the recommendations are just for you asked to note the waivers and that there were 7 approved by the Chief Executive and Section 151 within the year. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any questions, anybody? No.
Holsworthy one, was that to do with the asbestos or something?
It is attached in there, but I believe, but yeah, I believe it was to do with that.
Okay. So I'm happy to note this, or do I think we just note it? Yes. Right. So the committee duly note this item. And we move on to item 13, which is the update of the financial procedural rules, procurement thresholds, pages 99 to 156. Again, to you, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. So these are our financial procedure rules, and primarily, so we look at these periodically, but they're largely here today because of the contract procedure rules. So the contract procedure rules were updated by full council back in February. This was due to the Procurement Act, which came into place in February this year as well. So the main changes in this are in section 5 of the report, and it's on the thresholds around the procurement levels. So I won't go into too much detail. So this really is just to align our financial procedure rules with what's already been approved in our contract procedure rules. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, anyone?
We have to vote on this, don't we?
Yep. Can I just ask, how our rules fit in with our peer councils? Are we on the same sort of bandwidths, if you like?
I believe so. I think that's why. So the procurement side of stuff, Luann, our procurement officer, deals with a lot of the procurement. So she's part of the wider network within Devon. So I think the levels are what are recommended sort of across through the Devon-wide group. So yeah, that makes sense.
So we as a committee can take assurance that we're not out on a limb with this, that we're...
No, definitely.
Okay, I think that's an appropriate challenge. I'm happy to move from the chair that we adopt these.
I think we recommend full council.
Yeah, it is on page 100, isn't it? Is that the one, the recommendation on page 100?
Recommend full council.
The update financial procedure rules are approved. So
But yeah, but we recommend full council have to actually.
right, okay. So I'm happy to make that recommendation to full council. If I have a seconder, please. Thank you, councillor. All those in favour? Unanimous? Thank you. Item 14, Corporate Risk Part 1, summarised, page 157. Again, over to you, Peter.
So this is a summary of the corporate risk register. So these are the, I think, 11 risks we currently have. So each summarised there. I think the more detailed register is for later on. So main summary, as I can say, is that there's not been any major changes since last audit and governance. Corporate risk register number 11 was added. So this was adding in local government reorganisation. And then also, since the last audit and governance, we've also had the what is now the Community Regeneration Partnership, previously the Levelling Up Partnership, where we're getting £20 million of funding. So that will be captured under corporate risk number 10 there. So, so happy to take any questions on those.
Any questions, anybody?
Right, then.
Yes, please, David.
I've lost my place here now. I made some notes, but I couldn't think of it. The council have credit cards. Some of the officers have them, do they? And where do they appear on
So
these audits?
Well, they're in our financial procedure rules.
Right.
The credit cards of what we have and the limits that each are allowed, so to speak. So it is part of our procurement rules and financial procedure rules. There wouldn't be a corporate level risk. Our limits are actually relatively low for credit cards, so I think it's about £3,000 for most officers would be their monthly limit. I think with a senior manager or two having maybe 5,000. So they're relatively low risk from that perspective.
Some local authorities have had problems with them, haven't they, with the staff using them?
Yeah, we tried to limit their use where we can. But
Right.
some items it works better. If that makes sense.
Okay. Any further comments? No. Okay, we note that update and move on to item 15, which is the forward plan on pages 158 and 159. We're in cycle 1, looking to cycle 2. So we're anticipating the annual fraud resilience report and the draft audit annual report 24-25 in July, and assessing going concern status, corporate risk summary. That seems fairly straightforward, no changes there year on year. Does anybody else have any comments on it? No, I think we take that as read then. Okay. Right. On to item number 16, which is the exclusion of the public. And I am moving that the public be excluded from the remainder of the meeting because of the likely disclosure of exempt information by virtue of paragraph 3 of part 1 and paragraph 10 of part 2 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Do I have a seconder?
Second it, Chair.
David. All those in favour? Unanimous. So before we go into Close the meeting at 2:49. Thank you very much, everyone.